Hello and welcome to another episode of Throttle Stop Garage. In today's episode, I'm going to review the products and services that I've been getting from Send Cut Send. Stay tuned. As I get going building the frame for my car, I thought I would just take this opportunity to run down a few of the products and services that we're getting from Send Cut Send that are making this build come up to that next level. Again, I'm just in my garage here in Canada. I don't have a whole lot of fancy tools, and we don't have a lot of ways of getting this done. I'm well practiced at doing things manually, but if you could do it in a better way, I would absolutely love to be able to increase the quality of the parts that I produce and also be able to innovate in a few ways that I think would be absolutely impossible without being able to access laser cutters, water jets, and all kinds of material options. These are the sorts of challenges that I face on a day-to-day basis here in the garage, are things like material suppliers simply just don't want to sell to you. You can't buy small quantities. There isn't ones and twos of anything anymore. If you have to buy material, you end up having to have somewhere to store it. And if you're in a small space, that becomes really prohibitive. And then again, the variety of materials that you're going to have. So from my experience doing the design work for my suspension, I thought I'd take you on a quick tour of the sorts of things that I've been getting from Send Cut Send. Okay, so here's the current project that I'm working on, and I needed an epic pile of brackets and other bits, jigs, and other things that I'm going to need in order to complete this. Again, you can lay this stuff out in your garage, and if you watch some of my previous videos, you'll see I actually sort of like laying out things, but I also know when my goose is cooked, and there's going to be no chance that I'm going to be able to get all the parts laid out. I'm slow enough as it is, so I don't need to be slowed down any further. But one of my bigger problems has always been that I can't get reliable laser or water jet cutting services where I live. And of course, living in Canada, we have a big problem, which is a lot of American companies simply won't ship to us. Or when they do, by the time we pay for it, how many times have you loaded a cart and then canceled it because the shipping was worth more than the parts? When I found Send Cut Send, actually, from watching YouTube videos, I contacted them, and of course they didn't ship to Canada at the time, but they worked really hard in order to get that to work, not just for me, but for the other 38 million Canadians that build stuff in their garage. I can tell you that so far, so good in terms of what we've been able to achieve. So some of the things are, reasonably straightforward. A simple bracket to attach parts to my welding table, something I need all the time to use, and there's nothing in the marketplace that's going to be quite like that. That does exactly what I need. I've also had some overly complicated parts that I've designed, right, and built. These are upper control arm brackets. Lots of bending, lots of tab and slot pieces to put together. Now, one of the bigger advantages for these things is getting some of the holes and slots and other intricate shapes cut is just well beyond anything I'm going to be able to achieve in the garage. Just hold on a sec. So for example, these hexes that I had cut out of stainless steel and I've welded onto these little brackets, these are going to be for fuel lines. They fit a -6 bulkhead fitting, and in pops the fitting. You attach the nut to the other side of the bulkhead fitting, and you only ever need the one wrench to make that work. I also, because the file was easy and I was there doing it anyway, I made -3 little stainless steel brackets for my brake lines. So it's those sorts of intricate shapes that I'm not going to be able to cut those really reliably, or if I am able to do it, it's going to take me forever, rather than sending a file away that I drew in Fusion 360. And I'm not a CAD expert, so I'm just learning on the fly as I go how to do these things. And I'll tell you what, when the brackets come in and they're as nice as that, you bolt them together, you give it a little bit of weld, and you've got a beautiful bracket. That's just excellent. Other things that I found, sometimes I can even save significant amounts of money. So I saw on another supplier's website these little tabs that they're making for zip ties, right? So bolt goes in the middle, zip tie attaches through here, right? And made out of stainless steel. They wanted $89 US for a run of 5. Sendcut Send was able to do those for me for a little over 20 bucks a piece. So I had a bunch made, and they always come shrink wrapped, right? So the parts always come shrink wrapped. So these I'm not going to need for a long time. I just added them to an order. So I just take my box cutter, cut them out, set them on the bench. They're nice and clean and ready to go for when I need them. I also get them to cut out little jigs and templates when I need them. And it's just nice to be able to say, oh, I need a specific angle, and there's a reference point or two on them. A little jig. Those are simple and cheap. Get those done all the time. This was the jig that I used for my upper control arm brackets in order to set the parts together and register the 2 plates that make up that part. Right? So simple. Just a little part, click, and it all goes together, sort of like Lego. I suppose more Meccano than Lego. So some of the other parts that I've had done, I have had them powder coat. I'm sorry that I had them powder coated in white. I don't know why I had them done in white. I just picked white. But it's super hard to get that to show up on camera. Anyway, if you know you're going to powder coat stuff anyways, and I do powder coat in my garage, but sometimes the parts won't fit in my oven. But honestly, if I'm going to have them cut anyway, I might as well have them powder coated. Now, I didn't get the edges chamfered, or there's no drilled and tapped or countersunked holes. I didn't get any of those services applied to these parts. These are simple parts that I'm going to use to locate the hubs on my Corvette suspension that I'm putting into the Volvo. So they're reasonably simple, and I just wanted to, you know, simple lollipop, draw it up, and I thought, well, might as well powder it, make it nice, make it durable, won't get all scratched up in the garage. They offer that one too. Hopefully you can see those. And I've mostly had things cut in steel, primarily because they offer cold rolled steel, which is something I have a difficult time getting around where I live. I can get hot rolled, that's fine, but getting cold rolled is really difficult. Because no one's stocking it, but it's a lot nicer to TIG weld. So if I'm putting something together with cold rolled, all I do is I just hit it with my Scotch-Brite pad on my grinder to clean it off and then weld it up, and I don't use acetone or anything silly like that. It's not needed. So that works really well. Different materials that we've had, I've already explained. The titanium for the upper control arm parts. So we've got those things. Where are you going to source grade 5 titanium near you? I have no idea, but I just call Sendcut Send and they have it for me. I do normally leave the parts, again, in their shrink wrap packing. I really do like that. Hey, this has been, I don't know, it's been an eye-opening experience for me to be able to finally get the sort of stuff that I have in my head out and into materials so that I can build a better quality car. Again, I'm not building this car just to get it done. Sorry, you're on the wrong channel for that. I'm building this car because I like the technical challenge and I want to learn. And sometimes I have ideas that I just can't make happen. So being able to access laser cutting services really, really, really helps. So this is the jig that I've made to cut my 3-inch tube that's going to hold my lower control arm on my suspension part. I know I'm only going to use it once, but as I said before, I really don't care. It doesn't matter. I put the hole center to center. So with my ruler, if you'll be able to see it, I've added piloting holes to the part so that I can pilot where the fasteners are going to be located in the tube. And I have to put the fastener all the way through the tube as a crush tube so that I don't crush the tube when I'm tightening the part down. And I set the center to center at 115 millimeters. Right, so the laser cut parts comes in, it's exactly 115 millimeters. Into that tube goes this lower control arm box. I will be trimming off this top piece and the bottom piece once it's welded. And in order to design this, I just used Fusion 360's sheet metal tools, and I used all of the settings that are on Sendcut Send's website. So they give you all the settings for the sheet metal to say these are the various bend factors and radii. This is what you need to put in to the software to make this work. So again, I'm not an expert on this, so a lot of that's just Fusion 360's sheet metal tools, which work really, really well. So we've got a complicated part for this box. It's going to go inside the tube, and the lower control arm is going to come out and pivot out here. I need to do that in order to gain some clearance for engines and other things inside my car. Packaging is tight. Now, if we look, I've got a tab, a 90-degree bend, 90-degree bend, 90-degree bend, one more 90-degree bend to finish it all off. And I need those holes to be 115 millimeters from center to center.
You can see that a lot better now. Okay, so that's dead nuts, right on the ball. No chance I would have been able to hit that, including having that bolt hole go straight through. That's not an easy part to make.
And I think they were like a grand total of about $20 a piece to produce. If I was in my garage trying to make this happen, I'll tell you what, that's going to be a lot more than 20 bucks worth of frustration for me. Now, once I get it welded, we'll chop the edges off. That part will be ready to go. So it does speed things up, and I'm notorious for being quite slow. My upper control arm brackets, I decided to make an overly complicated bracket for the car. I did it for various reasons. I need to, again, locate my upper control arm away from my frame member. So, and I also wanted it to be adjustable. So I've seen this on other, I think they're stock car parts where they use a key adjuster, right? And you can fit the key in, have it fit into a slot, and then you can have keys made with different holes. I've chosen to make those out of grade 5 titanium because it's very, very strong, and it's sort of the right product, right? I don't have to worry about corrosion and other things over time. And I have designed a really crazy, overly complicated bracket, but that's just the way these things work out sometimes. But all the parts come in, everything fits. No big, it's no slop, it's just beautiful. And that's the kind of stuff that really, in terms of saving time, just the parts that I would have to put together to make that bracket the way I wanted it would take a lot longer. I'm not saying it can't be done. I am saying there are better ways of doing it. This is a better way of doing it. So the ideas can just fall out of your head. Whatever you need. So far, you know, welding table parts. Why people won't sell welding table parts? And honestly, I can't get parts for these things. I mean, sometimes I can find somebody who'll ship to me, like Trick Tools will ship to me, but a lot of other people just won't, which is super frustrating. So you end up building it yourself. Why? Because you have to. Anyway, all kinds of bits and pieces here so far. So if you're Canadian and you're watching this, one thing I will say is when the shipping comes to you, there's no other brokerage charge, which to me is, that's a company that's working with you. So oftentimes the shipping is like $30, $40 to get these parts here, and they arrive in a week, which is also stunning to me. I have no idea how they pull off this magic. So materials including composite material, wood materials, you've seen it on other channels. I haven't got to that point yet in my build. All I've needed so far are things like brackets, things like little tabs and other things that I just simply, I mean, I can buy them, but I can also design them and I can have them made for a lot less money. The way I look at it at this point, I'm able to build just about anything I want, because designing this stuff with the current CAD tools that we have available with things like Fusion 360 for home gamers, those software pieces are free and they work brilliantly, right? So you're able to do it. If you don't know how to do the CAD stuff, don't be afraid of it. There are videos out there. Go and have a look. It's pretty straightforward for most of the things that you're going to design, and there's some things that are so far beyond my skill set right now, it's not even funny. But I am able to do the simple things like getting the tab and slot stuff done. There's also advice on their website for doing things like, how do you clearance a part? You know, if you're getting these things laser cut, don't cut them at exactly the right size. Follow the instruction. You need a few thou worth of clearance, or you're going to need a hammer to get these things together, because when the parts are being cut, they're very, very accurate. It's little details like adding the little dog bone corners right? So if you add the dog bones to the corners, the little holes that you can drill in the corners is one of the way of dealing with the stress risers that can pop up in the corners. Now, this is just a jig. I didn't need to do that. There's no point to doing those holes in this jig. It's just practice for me. I just wanted to practice making that style of connection, because get it to work. The tab and slot stuff's great for just being able to fit things together. If you have any questions or comments, just fire them in the comments below. I always do my best to answer the comments that I get. We're not the world's biggest channel, right? It's just me you're talking to. Oh, and by the way, we do have a maker page on Send Cut Send, so if you go to Send Cut Send and you follow the link below, you will be able to get yourself a discount on parts. Give it a shot, see if it works for you. That's the whole point of bringing these videos to you, is to try to help. I found things that work, and I hope that they also work for you, to help out with whatever it is that you're building. Anyway, with that, that's a wrap for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget, keep your stick on the ice. Okay, so this stuff should be pretty cool, and I've not had a chance to look at it yet. Everything's packed nicely. Hey, Sour Patch, who doesn't like candy?